Hello and welcome to the Cyber Den, your weekly dose of tech and games. I, Jake, will be chatting with professional voice actor and radio DJ Jon St. the voice of Duke Nukem. Thanks for coming, mate.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jake.
Now, Jon, please tell everyone listening how you got into radio.
Well, I started out as a baby DJ. By that, I mean I was 14 years old when I first got my first radio job. And my inspiration for that was the comedian George Carlin, who back in 1970 had an album called FM and AM. And I would impersonate George Carlin doing wonderful wino radio and stuff like that. And the kids at school in junior high school were saying, God, you sound like a real radio DJ. You should go down to the radio station and get a job. So one Saturday afternoon, I wandered on down to the radio station, knocked on the door, went in, met the program director, and he pretty much hired me on the spot, putting me on weekends. And so I became a 14-year-old disc jockey because of the influence of George Carlin.
What inspired you to give voice acting a try?
You know what? It never really occurred to me that I wanted to be a voice actor. It was kind of thrown at me. I was production director for a radio station here in San Diego where I live when, I guess it goes back to 1994 or 95 now, when the top casting director for video games at the time, Lonnie Manella, who also lives here in San Diego, happened to be in my studio for a recording project. She was going to voice an automobile dealer commercial that I was producing. And she came into the studio, started showing off all kinds of crazy voices, which inspired me to start doing all kinds of crazy different voices. And she said to me, wow, you've got really remarkable range. Would you like to do video game voice acting? And at the time, what was out at the time? Wolfenstein? Doom? I said, there's no voice acting in video games. And she said, au contraire, there will be. The technology is getting there. And we have this game called Duke Nukem that we'd like you to audition for. So I auditioned, got the job, the rest is history.
You must have really enjoyed playing Duke Nukem.
Oh, it was a blast. I mean, the actual audition process, we had George Broussard, who's one of the creators of Duke Nukem, on the phone from Texas with Lonnie Manella and myself in a studio in San Diego. And they were trying to figure out what the voice should sound like. And I know George had something else in mind originally, but then Lonnie said to me, think of Dirty Harry. Think of the Clint Eastwood character going, go ahead, punk, make my day. With his teeth clenched.
Yeah.
And George said, that's the right attitude and the right sound, but can you, Duke is a roided out, big old superhero guy. Can you maybe lower the octave? And I went, go ahead, make my day. And George right there said, that's the voice we want. That's our Duke Nukem. Record it. And that's pretty much how the process happened for me to get that game. It's funny, too, by the way, Jake. The next game I did after that was Candyland.
Wow, they're action-packed.
I know, right? So, from Duke Nukem to Candyland, that's a little strange.
Do you think Candyland was going to be as big as Duke Nukem 3D?
No. I'd be surprised if anybody has that game anymore. I mean, I have a copy of it, but I don't know anybody who ever played it. It was pretty cool, though. I got to do nearly all of the male cast of that game. I play 5 or 6 different characters. So I was impressed by my work on that one.
After a long wait, Duke Nukem Forever had finally come out after a good 15 years since Duke Nukem 3D. Now, the game wasn't very well received, and you've been quite vocal about some of the reviews that people gave it. Why so?
Well, the reason for that is that these critics are 20-somethings, if you know what I'm talking about. You're probably a 20-something, Jake, so don't take this personally. But they did not grow up playing Duke Nukem 3D. They're too young to remember it, and they probably didn't play it. All they had to compare it to was modern-day shooters like Call of Duty. And you cannot compare Duke Nukem Forever to Call of Duty. The graphics were done years ago by 3D Realms, back before Gearbox Software bought the rights to it. So it wasn't going to be technically superior to any other games. Everybody should have known when Duke Nukem Forever came out that it was going to be a throwback to Duke 3D. And that's exactly what it was. It was a lot of fun. It was even sexier, even sillier, even more gross. I mean, the fact that the game was so interactive and had so many silly, sophomoric high school boy age kind of silly humor to it. That was exactly what it was supposed to be, a throwback to Duke Nukem 3D. So these critics who were all too young to remember Duke 3D were trying to compare it to modern day games, and that was just inappropriate. That's why they panned it. They wanted it to look like Call of Duty, and they also wanted to have all the weapons like you used to have in Duke 3D, and I think that upset them.
You'll be pleased to know that, although the game was flawed, I did enjoy Duke Nukem Forever.
You better.
Okay, I like the game, just don't hurt me, Duke. It does have its flaws. The console versions weren't as polished as the PC versions. The PC version got a 4-weapon limit later on, had better patches, but conversely, had loads of things like cool cheats, interactivity, silly, goofy humor, and I quite like the gunfights as well. I thought those were quite good. Really liked the music as well. Thought that was awesome. Nevertheless, do you think there's still a market for Duke Nukem?
I still have hope for the future of Duke. You know, that's especially why I'm so pleased to do interviews with folks like you, in the Cyber Den, because I want to perpetuate the image and persona of Duke Nukem. I want to keep the character alive. I think at some point Duke Nukem deserves a Hollywood movie.
I agree. I think in the right hands, a Duke Nukem movie would be fantastic.
I do too. I mean, if they would create a new genre of film, the R-rated CG movie, God, that would be perfect for a Duke Nukem, platform. But, let's see what happens. I just think it's a great character that deserves to live on.
Now, aside from Duke, are there any other voice acting roles that strike you as your favorite? Can I suggest maybe Biggs the Cat from Sonic the Hedgehog?
That was the silliest, most ridiculous, stupidest voice I've ever done, and I was never proud of my work on Sonic Heroes or Adventure. Because on audition day, and again, it comes back to Lonnie Manella. She was the casting director for this one. She said, we're thinking about you for Big the Cat. And I'm like, Big the Cat? Okay, what's his deal? Well, he's really big and dumb looking, and he should sound stupid. So give us a stupid voice. Something stupid like this. Where's my froggy? And they said, oh, that's it. I went, no, please, no. But they wanted that voice, and yeah. As it turns out, by the way, here's some Big the Cat news for you. A couple of years ago, I kind of passed the torch on to voice actor Kyle Hebert, who's a friend of mine. He became the voice of Big the Cat for the very last incarnation of the Big the Cat because, I don't know if you've heard this or not, Sega has killed off Big the Cat. He will never be used again. He's gone. He's history. And I'm good with that. I feel bad for Kyle because he could have gotten more work. But, as far as the character goes, I don't think we'll ever see Big the Cat again.
I'm pretty sure a lot of fans must have been rejoicing at the removal of Biggs the Cat.
I don't know. There are an awful lot of fans of Big the Cat.
Really?
But as far as my other favorite characters, I think one in particular, because I thought my performance was pretty good and it created such a vocal strain that I lost my voice for 2 days, was the Sweet Tooth spokesperson in Twisted Metal 4.
Of course, yeah.
I really enjoyed doing that one because it felt very maniacal to me. It was my voice was a kind of a ripoff of the Crypt Keeper from Tales of the Crypt.
But he spoke like this, and it's hard to do this voice for a long period of time, especially when you're so maniacal and laughing.
So, you can imagine after, 4 or 5 hours in the studio of doing that, I lost my voice for a while. But the performance was pretty good when you watch the introduction of Twisted Metal 4. I think it sounds like I really channeled some evil from inside somewhere.
Definitely sounded scary. I just wet myself. Oh.
Towel, please.
Jon, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. And I'd also like to thank my lovely listeners out there for tuning into this great interview on the Cyber Den, your weekly dose of tech and games. See you later, Jon. Good luck against them aliens.
That's right. Hail to the king, baby.